7 months into sharing a sunlit Chicago walk-up with Mark, a guy who called himself aggressively straight, I spilled coffee, laughter, and finally, the truth. He found out I was gay because my phone lit up with a message that read, "Call. Me when you're home, love." Everything changed after that ping. Not in a melodramatic TV way, but in the careful, echoing way hearts change. Quiet, then louder. Doors opened. Old fears woke up. New kindness moved in. If your chest tightens before hard conversations, this story is a hand on your shoulder, steadying you while we walk through what happened next. Please tap subscribe, give this video a gentle like, and share it with someone who needs a steady voice today. Turn on captions, pour some tea, and settle in. Your comments help others feel less alone, and your presence here truly matters. Thank you for being part of this community. I'm Daniel. I was 29 when this began. A tidy kind of quiet in a city that never really sleeps. Our apartment sat above a bakery in Lincoln Square. In the mornings, the smell of cinnamon knots drifted through our thin windows, and you could feel the day waking up before you even opened your eyes. The hallway radiator hissed like it had secrets to tell, and the floor creaked in the kind of way that meant the building had seen a lot and survived it all. Mark moved in with 2 duffel bags, a baseball mitt, and a coffee mug that said, "World's okayest cook." He was an engineer, sturdy, cheerful, Midwestern. Cubs hat hanging from the doorknob, calm, narrow eyes that lit up when the Bears won or when the pasta wasn't overcooked. He shook my hand at the lease signing with a comfortable firmness and said, "I'm pretty easy, dude. Work a lot. Sleep, gym. Call my mom on Sundays." We put our names on the mailbox in block letters. It made me smile. 2 names, 1 place, a promise to be decent to each other. Our first grocery run was cautious. You learn a lot about a person from their approach to avocados and cereal. He went straight for plain Cheerios and the ripest avocado in the bin. Efficient, optimistic. I admired that. I kept my coffee mugs on the second shelf. I watered the plants my sister claimed were unkillable. And when you live with someone new, you make a quiet agreement. You learn how to be together in the same small universe. You listen for the cabinet doors, the footsteps, the sigh before the shower. You adjust. You breathe. You hope for kindness. We sat at the wobbly kitchen table the first night and made rules. No blasting music after 10. Label leftovers. Don't talk to the landlord unless you're having a good day. He pointed at the stove burner like it had personally offended him and said, "And if it goes whoosh when it shouldn't, we call someone. Please, some rules are written, some are not. Here's an unspoken one. Tell the basics of your story." But there are old pieces of my story that sat like folded letters at the bottom of a drawer. I was out to friends, to my sister Lisa, to most of my co-workers at the hospital. That truth was part of my day, like my badge and my stethoscope and the pen I kept losing. But with new men, especially men who announce half-jokingly that they are aggressively straight, I often waited. I didn't lie. I edited. Editing our lives is something many of us do when we aren't sure yet that the listener will handle the truth with care. If you're listening now and you've done this, I want you to hear me say, it's not a character flaw. It's a survival skill. A bridge you build when the river's high. Mark flipped through a takeout menu and said, "You're at Northwestern, right? Med Surgical?" "Yeah," I said, tracing the ring of a water glass. "Long shifts, good people, plenty of coffee." He smiled. "Good. I go to bed early. I won't see you much on weekdays then." We clinked chopsticks and agreed to split. Dumplings. I told him about my sister's bike crash last summer. He told me about tearing his ACL in high school. We traded those little medical scars like baseball cards. I could see the good in him. You can tell when someone's been trained by life to hold things gently. There is a rhythm to roommates that, when it works, settles the nervous system. Mark showered at 6:15. I brewed coffee at 6:45. He liked his eggs firm. I liked mine soft. He washed dishes like he was negotiating a truce. I folded laundry like I'd taken a class. In the evenings, we'd pass each other like trains on parallel tracks. He'd come in, gym bag swinging. I'd head out, lanyard bouncing against the doorframe. On Fridays, we sometimes watched a game. Baseball for him, anything with a plot for me. He'd narrate how the pitcher held the seams. I'd explain the philosophy of good character arcs. It was easy. It was safe. The city outside our windows could be loud and complicated. Our little kitchen was calm. Sometimes we don't realize how much safety we're craving until it arrives in humble, everyday ways. Let's talk about the moment. It wasn't dramatic. It was small, the way a heart murmur can be small and still change the course of things. Late March. Snow not quite. Done with us yet. I'd left my phone on the coffee table, screen up, while I ran down to grab the laundry before someone mistook my scrubs for free. Mark stood at the sink, scrubbing a pan like it had wronged him. When I came back, he had that stillness people get when they're processing something. He cleared his throat. Hey, your phone lit up. I wasn't snooping, my eyes went there. I set the basket down. My heart miscounted a beat. Okay. He pointed gently at the table. It said, "Call me when you're home, love. Evan." He paused. Who's Evan? If you're hearing this, and your stomach just dropped, I want you to take one breath with me. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 6. I learned that from an older nurse who used to put a hand on my shoulder before tough conversations and say, "Steady now." I met his eyes. Someone I'm seeing. He nodded slowly. A lot lived in that nod. His face softened, then tightened, then softened again, like weather moving through. Okay. I didn't know. I know, I said, and I was surprised by how calm my voice sounded. I should have told you, I swallowed. New roommate, new space. I wanted to feel it out. He leaned his hip against the counter and stared at the pan. I get that. We sat at the kitchen table with the dumpling menu between us like a negotiation treaty. He chewed on a thumbnail. I don't have a problem, he said, voice careful. I've had friends who are gay. I've been to a pride thing. I'm not weird about it. I half smiled. Okay. I think I'm more surprised you didn't tell me, he admitted. He wasn't accusing. He sounded like someone who'd found out the book he loved had a chapter he hadn't read yet. I was worried, I said. You're easy to live with. I've had roommates who weren't. It's exhausting to teach someone how not to be cruel. He looked up fast. I'm not going to be cruel to you. I know, I said. You've been kind from day one, but fear isn't rational. It just knocks and knocks. He nodded, eyes steady. What do you need from me? If you live long enough, you learn to answer that question. But early on, many of us are rusty, so I took it slow. I need to know you won't bring people here who make jokes about me. I need to know if something confuses you, you'll ask, not assume. And I need to know that Evan is safe to visit. Mark stared at the menu, then put it aside. Okay, he said. Those are easy yeses. Thank you. And, he added, shoulders dropping a notch. If I say the wrong thing sometimes, please tell me. I'll learn. There it was. Humility. A bridge offered in both directions. We ordered dinner. We ate. We talked about the Cubs and a book my sister had mailed me. Not everything has to be sorted in one night. There is a pace to healing and to change. It can be gentle. It wasn't lightning. It was a dimmer switch. We kept living. But now there was air moving through a window we'd never opened. Mark asked thoughtful questions. Not quizzes, not intrusions, curiosities with respect braided in. Is it annoying when people say, I never would have guessed? What's the best part of your favorite Pride memory? What do I do if somebody says something dumb to you at a party? I answered honestly. Sometimes you already know. Sometimes, thank you for asking. When Evan came by, Mark shook his hand in that Midwestern way, like you mean it or don't bother. They talked about the Bulls for 5 minutes. They laughed about the landlord's attempts at caulking, and I watched a new pathway form between two men who might not have met otherwise. A small miracle we don't give enough applause. Decent men choosing to be kinder. But it wasn't just Mark who changed. I changed. Fear ebbs when it's met with patience. I stopped editing so much. I stopped skipping pronouns in stories. I hung a small pride flag magnet on the fridge. He noticed it that evening and grinned. Looks good there. Yeah, I said. I think it does. Not long after, we went to a neighborhood bar to catch a game. The place had too many TVs and not enough napkins. A group of guys at the next table yelled at the screen like it owed them money. One of them leaned over and asked who we were rooting for. I said casually that I was rooting for a pitcher because Evan liked him. He made a face and muttered something about soft under his breath. Before I could even open my mouth, Mark turned, friendly but firm. Come on, man, he said. Don't be that guy. We're just watching baseball. He held the moment, with a steady gaze, not a flex, just a clear boundary. The guy shrugged, looked away, found other targets. Mark turned back to his beer and, after a second, to me. You okay? Yeah, I said, and I was. I didn't need him to rescue me, but I appreciated that he had stepped toward me, not away. That evening, the air felt lighter. We walked home under the L tracks and talked about pitching rotations. Sometimes allyship looks exactly like that, unglamorous, simple, consistent. June in Chicago is a long exhale after a winter that never seems to leave. I asked Mark if he wanted to come to Pride. It's crowded, I warned, smiling. It's loud. There's glitter in places you will never get it out of. He laughed. I have a lint roller. Let's go. We went with my sister Lisa and her wife Mia. Mark carried sunscreen like a champ. He handed out water bottles. At one point, an older couple walked by, 2 men in their 70s, hands threaded, wearing matching shirts with tiny embroidered hearts. They were laughing, heads tipped together, like the years had taught them where to find the sweetest light. Mark watched them pass and exhaled softly, like someone had opened a door he didn't know was there. He fell in step beside me, not touching, not crowding, just present. This is what I remember most. He didn't try to be the center. He let the day be about what it was about. Joy, survival, chosen family, the sacred right to exist loudly. And still, he was with me. Later, as the sun leaned west, we sat on the curb and ate street tacos wrapped in foil. Thanks for inviting me, he said. It sounds silly, but I feel proud of you. I looked at him, quietly surprised by the warmth in my chest. Thank you. He looked back to the parade and said, half to himself, I like the way today feels. Summer storms in the Midwest are honest, no guessing. Just a warning wind, then rain like sleet of glass, then the slow drum roll subsiding. That night, the power flickered and went out. We lit a candle in the living room and sat on the floor like kids at a camp. The city softened. When things get quiet, other things come to the surface. He asked, voice barely above the rain, Do you ever get tired of explaining yourself? I smiled at the ceiling. I get tired of proving I deserve the same ease other people are handed, but conversations like the ones we've had? No, those are oxygen, he nodded. The candle moved shadows over his face. He looked a little like a kid in a fort. Sometimes, he said carefully, I don't know what I'm feeling until I say it out loud. That's a normal part of being human, I said, and I meant it. There's no hurry, there's just honesty and kindness. He was quiet for a long moment. The rain eased. I think I'm noticing things, he said finally. About you. about me around you. I don't have a label for it. It just feels safe. Good. I listen to my own heartbeat. There are moments when life asks you to be brave in a very particular way, to be open without losing yourself. I appreciate you telling me, I said softly. We don't have to name anything tonight. We can let it be true and unfinished. He laughed once, breathy. True and unfinished, he repeated. I like that. We sat there. 2 people, 1 candle, a city humming around us. He reached over, slowly, like approaching a skittish bird, and took my hand. It wasn't charged. It wasn't a movie moment with violins. It was simpler, deeper. This is my hand. I would like you to hold it. So I did. The next morning we made pancakes. He burned the first one, I salvaged the second. We moved around each, other like people who had learned a new dance step overnight and didn't want to stomp on toes. He cleared his throat. About last night, he said. I meant what I said, but I also don't want to. He stopped, searching. Hurt me? I finished, not unkindly. Yeah, he said, relief obvious. I don't want you to feel like I'm experimenting with your heart. I plated a pancake and slid it to him. Thank you for saying that. I won't be a secret. I won't be a curiosity. And I won't be your proof of something to anybody else. If you want to explore what you're feeling, we can do that. But slowly and kindly. Or we can continue as friends and roommates. Both are honorable. He took a breath. I want to try the honest way. He looked at the pancake, then at me, and I need to break up with Brittany. I had known about Brittany. Kind, smart, good at trivia nights. They'd been together off and on. You do, I said gently, because she deserves honesty too. He nodded. I'll call her today, and I'll be kind. He made the call in his bedroom with the door closed. I went for a walk along the brownstone-lined streets, counting the planters overflowing with geraniums. When I came back, his face had that clean, sad look people wear after they've told the truth and lost something because of it. He sat on the couch, elbows on knees. She cried, he said. I did too. I'm sorry, I said. I told her I didn't have all my words yet, he added. But that I knew this much. Holding on would be unfair. That's the right thing, I said. Hard but right. He looked over at me, eyes damp, mouth tilted in a confused, almost smile. I didn't expect to feel grief about the future I thought I was headed toward. I sat beside him. It's normal to mourn a map, even if the road it promised wouldn't have led you home. We were quiet for a while, sharing the couch, sharing air. He didn't reach for me, and I didn't reach for him. We were careful. Care can be a form of love all by itself. If you've lived in a building long enough, there's always a neighbor who knows everything and keeps what matters. Ours was Mrs. Alvarez, a retired teacher with a cookie tin that never ran empty. She had a way of reading your face and offering you exactly the right thing, which, in her case, was often an oatmeal raisin cookie and the words, sit, start wherever you want. She knocked one afternoon, handed us 2 foil-wrapped parcels and said, going to my niece's. Eat these or I'll be offended. She lingered for a beat, eyes kind. You boys watch out for each other. We do, Mark said, voice steady. Lisa came over the following weekend. She hugged me long. She hugged Mark, too, a little extra, and whispered, remember, the best people don't rush good things. We told our circle of friends slowly. Josh clapped Mark on the shoulder and said, love is love, man. Also, can you still make wings on Sunday? Priya texted me later. I like how he looks at you when you're talking. Like the world is saying something worth hearing. Not every day after a confession is a clean one. About 2 weeks later, Mark came home quiet and stayed quiet. He moved through rooms like the air was thick. That night he said, "Can we talk?" We sat at the kitchen table, the negotiation table, the truth table, and he exhaled. "I think I'm scared that I'm just lonely," he admitted, "that I'm mixing up gratitude and affection and you." I nodded. "Thank you for telling me the moment you felt that, not after you let it grow alone." "I don't want to hurt you," he said again. "We can pause," I offered. "We can let this breathe. And you can talk to someone who's trained to help you find the right words for what's real." "Like a therapist," he said. "Like a therapist," I echoed. "There's a community center near us. Sliding scale. Good people." He looked at his hands. "Okay. Pause is not the opposite of progress. Pause is how we catch up to ourselves. If you need that reminder today, take it. There's courage in choosing the right speed." Mark started seeing a counselor. He went once a week, sometimes twice. He'd come home a little wrung out and a little lighter. One evening, he sat on the couch and said, "I don't know why it took until I was 31 to realize there's more than 2 boxes, but it's like someone opened a window in a room I've lived in my whole life and I'm just breathing different." "Breathing is step 1, I said, smiling. He swallowed. "I think the word I want is bisexual." We tested it on the air for a second. He didn't flinch. Neither did I. "Welcome," I said quietly. "You're not late. You're not early. You're right on time for you." He nodded, eyes glossy. "I want to continue. Us. Slowly. Kindly. With a lot of consent. A lot of check-ins. A lot of pancakes," I teased. "Deal," he said. We were in the kitchen, both of us, cleaning up. He handed me a towel and the gesture slowed, like film in a museum exhibit. "Can I kiss you?" he asked. Not "should I?" Not "I'm going to." A question, which is another way of saying, "I see you. You are a person, not a solution." "Yes," I said. It was gentle. It was brief. It didn't ask me to be anything other than myself. When he pulled back, he laughed softly, hand on his own chest, like he was surprised his heart had found a new way to recognize itself. "Okay," he whispered. "Okay." We finished the dishes. "Here's something I want to offer anyone listening who was raised to ignore practicalities. Love is made of moments, yes, but it is held together by gentle logistics." We talked about boundaries. We decided we would not tell the whole world right away. We would tell the people who would care for the news. We decided we would not make grand announcements. We would make small, true ones. We talked about the apartment, about whether we wanted to move the couch or the lines around it. We agreed we would not treat our home like a secret, but we would keep our kisses where we kept our quiet, which is to say, we would not perform for others, and we would let our walls witness the story. We told the landlord nothing because the landlord, bless him, could barely keep track of the sinks. We told Mrs. Alvarez because she knew without us saying, and she baked lemon bars anyway, the powdered sugar dusting our fingers like snow. When my mom called from Milwaukee and said, "Honey, I don't want to worry you," I was in the cereal aisle, deciding between the brand that tasted like cardboard and the one that tasted like sugared cardboard. I took a breath. "Tell me," I said. "Shortness of breath," she admitted. "They're admitting me for observation." I was already walking back to the apartment. "I'm on my way." Mark didn't ask if he should come. He said, "I'll drive." 10 minutes later, we were on I-94, the skyline shrinking in the mirror, Lake Michigan a deep gray to our right. He didn't fill the car with chatter. He kept his hand near the console, palm up, letting me know there was a place to rest mine if I needed it. I did. At the hospital, he found a coffee for me and a crossword for himself, the way good people occupy space without demanding it. He talked to the nurse at the counter like she was his favorite cousin. He nodded respectfully to the attending physician who explained the tests. He never once made it about him. If you've ever sat in a hospital hallway at 3 in the morning, you know how easy it is to fall in love with someone who knows how to be steady in the fluorescent glare. Mom was okay. A med adjustment. A stern talking to about monitoring her fluid intake. As we left, she squeezed Mark's hand and said, "You're a good one. Don't let this city convince you you're not." On the drive home, the sun came up in pale gold, slats across the road. He glanced over at me. "You do that for a living," he said, admiration softening his voice. "You stand in rooms like that and you help people breathe." "I try," I said. He took a breath. Steady. "I'll try. With you." The weeks after that were ordinary and holy. We tried a new pasta sauce and burned the garlic. We walked along the lake with coffees that cooled too fast. We argued once about whether the couch should face the window or the TV. We did not make everything about identity. We lived. And still, sometimes doubt visited like a relative who doesn't call first. One night, Mark said, "I keep wondering what my dad will think." "What do you think?" I asked. He rubbed his jaw. "I keep hearing his voice in my head, but maybe it's just my voice pretending to be his. I don't know. I'll call him when I'm ready." "Take your time," I said. "Let's focus on how we treat each other and let the rest take its place. It's tempting to build our lives around the reactions of other people. But joy can't breathe in a room like that. We kept choosing us. We let the rest come when it came." 3 months after that first call, Brittany texted Mark and asked if they could talk. They met for coffee in a quiet shop with a ficus that had been there longer than any barista. He told me about it when he got home. He stood by the window, shoulders a little hunched the way people stand after a tender thing. "She's okay," he said. "She said she knew I was figuring something out even before I did. She said she hopes we both find what we're looking for." I went to him. "I'm glad," I said. "I hope she does too." He looked at me with those steady, narrow eyes and added, "She said to tell you to be patient with me." "I can do that," I said. We adopted a dog. Not because love needs a mascot, but because the apartment needed more life. We went to a shelter on the south side and met a mutt with one ear that refused to behave and a tail that wagged like a live wire. His intake name was Morton, which seemed heavy for 8 pounds of determination. We called him Mo. Mo slept in a donut bed under the window and woke us at 6 for brisk little walks that forced us to admire the morning. He loved everyone. He disliked the vacuum. He learned to sit before he learned to stop stealing socks. He was a reminder that care is daily and often silly, and that joy can thunder through a room in a body barely larger than a kettle. Mrs. Alvarez brought over homemade treats shaped like bones and said, "All right, now it's a home." We drove to Ohio for Thanksgiving. Mark's parents lived in a tidy house with a mailbox shaped like a cardinal. His mom, Ruth, made a cranberry relish that deserved its own fan club. His dad, Dave, had a way of standing in doorways like a referee. One hand on the frame, we didn't make a speech. We didn't need to. The way Mark touched my shoulder when he passed me the gravy, the way my hand found his wrist under the table when he made a joke that didn't land, that told the story. That night, Dave asked Mark to help him with the trash bins. I watched from the kitchen window, drying my hands on a towel I didn't trust not to betray me with weird lint. They talked. It wasn't heated. It was slow. Mark came back in with his jaw set and his eyes clear. He said he's surprised. Mark said. He said he wants me to be happy. He said he doesn't get it yet, but that he'll try not to say dumb things while he's figuring it out. Ruth wrapped me in a hug that smelled like sage and told me to take seconds. Trying is a love language. I took more cranberry relish. If you've ever sustained anything hard and beautiful, you know that the secret is in ordinary Wednesdays. We built a life around Wednesday. Groceries, laundry, a show we both liked that we watched too slowly because we kept pausing it to talk about the lines. We negotiated who took Mo out in the sleet. We celebrated tiny victories, a good meeting for Mark, a patient who smiled at me after a long night. We cleaned the baseboards like they'd offended us. We made lists, and we crossed things off, and every so often we found ourselves in that same kitchen, that same table, saying the magic words that hold a home together. What do you need? And thank you, and I'm sorry, and I'm listening. The landlord slid the renewal under our door with a sticky note that said, "Please sign neatly." We sat on the floor and looked at it like it was an old friend dressed in a new shirt. "This feels different from last year," Mark said. "It is different," I agreed. "We were strangers then. We're us now." We signed. 2 names, same line of ink. It wasn't a wedding. It wasn't a declaration to the world. It was a promise to each other that we wanted another year of the ordinary miracle we'd made. We went out for pie to celebrate. The waitress called me honey and topped off our coffee like she'd always known we were exactly who we were. When my straight roommate found out I was gay, everything changed. And by everything, I mean this. The tone in our apartment softened. The rhythms became kinder. The questions got better. The jokes got smarter. The world uncurled a little in the morning and the night like a cat deciding to trust your lap. But let me be honest and careful. What didn't change matters too. The rent. The weather. The fact that people still say clumsy things in bars. The reality that love takes practice. And that practice is humbling, sometimes embarrassing, often funny. The need for boundaries did not go away. It matured. Everything changed because the truth was allowed to take up its rightful space, and the people in the room adjusted the furniture around it. That's the work. That's the gift. It doesn't require confetti. It requires courage and gentle hands. One evening, in late spring, when the tulips were punching out of the ground like little fireworks, we walked along the lake. The water was the color of an idea you haven't named yet. Mo trotted between. Us, snout up, convinced every jogger was a long-lost cousin. Mark's hand found mine like it had been homesick. He squeezed once. "I got an email today," he said. "My counselor's moving. He says I've got what I need." "How do you feel?" I asked. "Grateful," he said, "and ready to keep practicing." We stopped at the edge of the pier. The city shouldered up around us, all glass and hope. He turned to me. "I can't promise I'll always be brave on the first try," he said, smiling. "But I can promise I'll always try again. With you." I leaned into him. Forehead too. "Temple. The way you do when you want the world to hear you in case the wind is listening." "Me too," I said. If you're here because you're on the cusp of telling someone you love the truth of who you are, let me offer a few things, in the tone of a trusted friend who has stood in fluorescent hallways and dim kitchens and knows how both kinds of light can be kind. Pick a time when no one is rushing. A body in a hurry can't hear well. Ask for what you need. Be specific. Ask questions, not assumptions. Be kind if I stumble. Let's pause if we need to. If you are the one hearing the truth, you don't need all the right words. You need the right posture, curious, humble, steady. Make room for second drafts. People rarely say the best possible version first. Protect each other in public. There is no prize for letting a stranger be cruel. Therapy is not a failure of love. It is a tool for making love stronger. Ordinary Wednesdays build empires. Do the dishes. Refill the coffee. Walk the dog in the rain. We end where it began. The kitchen. Not fancy. Not filmed for a catalog. A bowl of oranges. A fridge with a magnet that catches the light in the afternoon. A small dog who thinks every sound is about him. Mark is making eggs. I'm burning the toast on brand. He looks over and grins. "Can you pass me the pepper?" he asks. I hand it to him. My hand lingers on his wrist. He leans in and kisses my forehead. It's not dramatic. It's exactly the size of our life. He says, "What do you want to do today?" I think about the city outside our door. I think about the one inside our walls. "Let's go get coffee," I say, "and maybe wander over to the bookstore and then come home and take a nap." He laughs. "Perfect. Some loves make you run. Some make you rest. The best ones teach you when to do which. If we're lucky, we don't get one version of ourselves. We get many. We learn to set the table for, each one with patience." When Mark found out I was gay, he didn't make the room smaller. He made it bigger. He didn't make me his teacher, his trophy, or his excuse. He made me his person, one ordinary Wednesday at a time. And yes, he was straight when I met him, or he thought he was. The way we name ourselves matters. So does the grace to rename. He found a word that fit better, the way you put on a jacket and realize it's the first one that keeps you warm where you actually need it. Bisexual. A good, sturdy word. It didn't erase who he had been. It explained him to himself more kindly. We kept changing because life keeps teaching. We listened. We adjusted the furniture in our hearts so the truth wouldn't bump its shin. On the way to the couch, we learned that you can be careful and brave at the same time. And we learned that you can love a city, a person, a dog, and a kitchen table so much that even the act of passing the pepper feels like a promise. I'll end with this. For anyone who needs the doctorly kind of calm, we all crave sometimes. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Put one hand on your chest and one on your belly. Feel the body you live in. It's done a lot for you. It will keep doing that. You are allowed to tell the truth about who you are. You are allowed to be surprised by love. You are allowed to be patient. You are allowed to be brave. You are allowed to need help. You are allowed to say, "I'm not ready," and then, later, "Now I am." You are allowed to want a life that is ordinary and holy. And if you are listening as the person who just learned something life-sized about someone you love, thank you for still being here. Your steadiness can be the bridge someone else uses to get safely across the river.